Hello everybody, and welcome to Ancient Architects. Please subscribe now to get the latest ancient history news and independent research from around the world. Many of you will have seen my last video on the incredible archaeological site of Karahantepe, which was formally presented to the world at the end of September and is set to open as a tourist destination next year. Karahantepe is almost certainly built by the same people responsible for Gobekli Tepe, being another major cult centre in the region dating back to between 10,000 and 12,000 years ago, housing dozens of T-shaped pillars with circular enclosures and having more fine examples of animal carvings. But what sets Karahantepe apart from Gobekli Tepe is the abundance of human sculptures, and the reason for this is still unknown. Gobekli Tepe and Karahantepe are part of what Turkish authorities are now calling Tas Tepeler, meaning stone hills, 12 sites that form one enormous archaeological project, and all of which date to the Pre-Pottery Neolithic era, a very early part in ancient Anatolian history. After making my last video, I decided to take a look at the lesser known Tas Tepeler sites. Moving 7 kilometers southwest of Karahantepe, we have a site called Harbetsuvan Tepesi, which experts say is a small-scale satellite settlement or cult centre. It's not as spectacular as Gobekli Tepe or Karahantepe, but it is one of the 12 most important sites in the region. Harbetsuvan Tepesi was first discovered in 2014, located 53 kilometers east of Sanliurfa on a plateau known as the Tek Mountains. It's situated on a rocky hill known as Harbetsuvan Hill, at the eastern edge of the Harran Plain. Initial surveys of the region revealed a number of surface depressions carved into the bedrock, as well as large assemblages of flint and obsidian tools. Several T-shaped pillars were also recorded on the surface, and one such pillar showed fingers of a hand in relief. Sadly, treasure hunters had already been there, but experts were still convinced there was a lot more to find below ground. And they were right. In recent years, excavations have taken place. The archaeological finds at Harbetsuvan Tepesi are numerous and well preserved, despite the damage from looters. A number of T-shaped pillars are still standing, and, as stated, a number of them were found scattered on the ground surface. Only the capital sections are partially broken. In some cases, the pillars are arranged side by side at intervals of 1.5 to 2 metres, and together these form enclosures. The pillars vary in length from 1 to 1.5 metres, having a thickness of 20 to 25 centimetres and a width of 40 to 50. On one pillar we can see human hands carved in relief, as well as a girdle on one side. Interestingly, although we do find carved fingers, no arms were carved like we see at other Tepe sites. The fact we see no arms leads experts to believe that these pillars were inserted into the walls, meaning you couldn't see the sides of the stone, and so there was no need to decorate them. This stone pillar that's found at Harbetsuvan Tepesi is therefore very similar to a pillar in the Lion's Pillar building at Gobekli Tepe. Pillars that were found in the perimeter of enclosures were connected by a stone wall, and they were very similar in style to Enclosure F of Gobekli Tepe. Enclosure F is from what archaeologists call Layer 2. Layer 3 is the oldest, being Pre-Pottery Neolithic A, whilst Layer 2 is generally Pre-Pottery Neolithic B, which dates to around 10,800 to 9,000 years ago. Therefore, Harbetsuvan Tepesi could well be from this time period, and that's due to stylistic similarities. At the site there are many cavities in the bedrock, and these have all been dug by human hands. One has a diameter of 1.5 metres and 80 centimetres in depth, and there are similar depressions also found at Karahantepe, Gobekli Tepe and Hamzan Tepe. These were probably basins to collect rainwater. Many rectangular buildings have also been discovered, sometimes with 2 T-shaped pillars in the centre, just like we see at other Tepe sites. The rectangular buildings are around 4 metres wide and 7 metres long, and built side by side on the western slope of the settlement. The wall stones that make up the buildings are large, untrimmed and flat. They have no entrances, which means they were likely accessed through the roof. In these buildings no ceramics were found, but flint blades and chips were recovered. Across the site, the tools found so far include flint arrowheads, scrapers, perforators, crested blades, cores and sickle blades. The obsidian tools are blade pieces and flakes. These people were clearly very advanced in making stone tools, and the style of blade is also typical for the late Pre-Pottery Neolithic A to the middle of the Pre-Pottery Neolithic B. Arrowheads are by far the most abundant find, around 74% of all lithic fragments, unless of course it has changed with more recent excavations. They were of course likely used for hunting. The flint used is high quality, and natural flint deposits are found 8 km northeast and 10 km south of the archaeological site. Ceramics have also been found, but these are clearly from a later phase of occupation. Sculptures have also been recovered, including a male figurine, which is described as a phallus sculpture with a man in a sitting position, but his head has not been preserved. There is also a pillar with an arm and fingers in relief, a small decorative stone plaque, basalt pestles and big stone bowls. A number of bone fragments have also been discovered, as well as a stone bracelet and beads. The size and scale of Harbetsuvan Tepesi means it's likely a small-scale settlement or cult centre, a satellite of the nearby Karahantepe, which would have been in use at the same time, primarily during the Pre-Pottery Neolithic B, around 11,000 to 9,000 years ago. It's thought to be a place of worship, a place for food storage and also a hunting ground. Trap areas have been found, made of large blocks of stone, forming a narrow corridor from the plain leading into the rocky part of the mountain. It's thought that Neolithic people must have driven the herds into the plain and then towards the traps. Archaeological excavations have uncovered many important finds, have shown that parts of the site were remodelled and rearranged, but extensive damage from illegal excavations have caused many problems for archaeologists. Sometimes the damage is major, with stones scattered all around or heaped up without care. Much of the site has therefore been artificially exposed to the elements, and this has also directly affected the archaeology. Interpretation of the site is varied, and the various structures could have well had specific functions and uses. But so far, the experts agree it was a cult centre, a satellite of the much larger centre of Karahantepe. I expect, like with all of the 12 Tas Tepeler sites, we'll learn a lot more about this site in the future. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Ancient Architects. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, please like the video, and please leave a comment below. Thank you very much.